Our service today will take us on a journey, and it's not just going to be the journey through our usual Shabbat liturgy, but also in honor of Tu B'Shvat that we'll celebrate next week. We're going to have readings related to Tu B'Shvat, related to this sense of spring that seems very far in the calendar, but not so far indeed when we look through the window and we see this rather lovely weather. Let's hope it stays this way. And thinking about this spring and this divine characteristic of the source of light, very much connected to longer days and warmer climate, we read our kavanah, our intention for prayer, that you can find at the bottom of page 129. Please join me. Source of light, of truth, and of the impulse within us towards justice and mercy. May this hour of worship be one of vision and inspiration. Help us to find knowledge by which to live. Let the words we speak enter our hearts and influence our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in search of you, or in need of comfort and consolation. May the offering of their hearts be acceptable to you, and may the prayers we utter here fruit acts of kindness, peace, and love. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You sanctify us with your commandments, and join us to study your teachings. And we now will read responsibly the words of Prophet Micah, who taught the Jewish people the importance of not just saying nice words, but also implementing them in engaging in acts that lead to a more just society. So please read with me responsibly. With what shall I approach the Eternal One?
How shall I worship God in heaven?
Shall I come before God with burnt offerings?
Or with healing towels?
Will God be pleased with thousands of rams?
Or with 10,000 rivers of oil?
Should I give my firstborn for my transgressions?
The fruit of my body for the sins of my soul?
People tell you what is good, but what does the Eternal One require of you?
Only to do justly and love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
And we now come to our phrases, to our prayer in the Siddur that refers to the study of Torah, to the study of the tree of life. And these are the fruits of the tree. So let's read what they are together on page 131. These are actions which bring benefit here and now, but whose value can be measured only in the light of eternity. Honoring one's father and mother, acts of love and kindness, diligent pursuit of knowledge and wisdom, hospitality to strangers, visiting the sick, enabling bride and groom to rejoice, consoling the bereaved, praying with sincerity, making peace where there is strife, and study of Torah leads to the whole. Eternal God, may the words of Torah be sweet to us and to all Israel, that we and our children and all the children of your people may come to know you by studying Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. All the prayers that we just said were prayers that traditionally, in early days of our tradition, of our religion, were said upon waking up, individually, in bed, and only then the community joined their voices together in praises of song, in the songs of praise. And you can find them, or our version of them, on page 132. We will read responsibly. Baruch she'amar v'chayach ha'olam. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, ha'nolad lefi amo, v'shubach u'mefoar b'lshon chasidav v'avadav, b'shmachot v'zmirot, legadecha v'lamdichacha, malkeinu yachid chei ha'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mechulal v'tishbachot. Sing for joy to the Eternal One, you who are righteous.
For the upright do well to give praise.
Give thanks to the Eternal One with the lyre.
Make music to God with the 10-stringed harp.
Sing to God a new song.
Play well with shouts of joy.
For God's word holds good.
God's deed is done in faithfulness.
The Eternal One loves righteousness and justice.
The earth is full of God's kindness.
By the Eternal One's word the heavens were made.
And all the heavens by the breath of God's mouth.
At the divine command the ocean waves rise.
God has said in the vaults of the deep.
Let all the earth revere the Eternal One,
Let all who dwell there stand in awe of God.
who spoke and it was.
Who commanded and it stood firm.
And now we continue responsibly. How shall I sing of day and night?
When it is God who formed them.
How shall I sing of heaven and earth?
When it is God who founded them.
How shall I sing of mountains and hills?
When it is God who planted them.
How shall I sing of deserts and seas?
When it is God who begot them.
How shall I sing of earth and her fullness?
When it is God who made them be.
I shall sing of the one who fashioned them all.
One who is above them all. Of God alone I shall sing.
And after we described the act of singing, it's time to do some actual singing with the concluding psalm of the book of Psalms, Psalms 150, on page 134. Please stand for Yishtabach, where we join our voices and become a community that in a second will say Baruch Hu and call each other to prayer. Yishtabach Shimcha La'Elokeinu Chayel HaMelech HaGadol v'HaKadosh B'Shamayim u'Ba'aretz Ki Lecha Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu, Shir u'Shachar, Halel u'Zimra, Brachot v'Chodahot, Ve'ata ve'Adonai, Baruch Ata Adonai, Habocher b'Shirei Zimra. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. The next blessing is a perplexing one, because at face value it talks about the light of day, but its more spiritual reading involves also the light that is inside us, the light this energy that enables us to go on, to keep on going when things get rough sometimes, to get up in the morning and get on with our lives. So when we say this blessing today, I encourage you to think about the things that bring light into your life, that bring you the energy to be here, be with others, to be present. Please join me in the reading of this blessing in English. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, Maker of light and Creator of darkness, Author of peace and Creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it. And in your goodness you renew creation continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O God! With wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory. We praise you, O God, Creator of light. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. So we come to the second blessing before the Shema. And it is quite telling that this blessing actually refers to divine love to human beings. But the truth is that we can't feel divine love. But what we can feel is the love that others bestow on us. And we can respond to this love. So when we think about divine love, the only approximation of it is the love we experience in relationship with others. So when we say the words of this blessing in English, I encourage you to think of those who love you and who you love. Please join me in English. Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them the laws of life. So be gracious to us and teach us. Incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truths of your Torah. Enlighten us with your teaching, make us faithful to your commandments, and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity. We praise you, O God. In love you have called your people Israel to serve you. Baruch atah Adonai, Habocher ba'amo Yisrael b'yachad. Please stand. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levacha v'chol nafshecha v'chol lamecha, v'hayu harim ha'ene asher anotim mesachar hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam v'shiftecha b'techa u'lechecha b'derech u'shomecha u'mecha u'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'chayu le'tavod bein einecha u'tavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Please join me in English. Good and beautiful and true, sound established and enduring are these words now and forever. True it is, Eternal One, that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer. As you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors, you are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. You redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song. We just had a beautiful reenactment of the experience of Israelites crossing the Sea of Reeds. They were in such a haste to be on the solid ground, on the rock of Israel, that they were willing to cut out the elements of the song just to rush to this rock. So the mistake is, or rather the fact that I'm here for the first time and it's a new mincha to me, is obviously mine, but what we get from it is a theological lesson. And with this experience of standing on solid ground with both our feet, we can stand up for our Amidah on page 140. And what we'll do during the Amidah is slightly different than what you usually do. So we'll read the first three blessings together, and then we'll sing Yismechu, because I heard it's one of your favorites. And then we'll have a moment for individual prayer, so you will be able to finish reading your Amidah in silence, or just offer your personal prayers to the Eternal. And then we'll unite our voices again in Oseh Shalom.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu V'imoteinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Romer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, למען שמו ביחווה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם עלי, מחיי מתים אתה רב והושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזיח השמש ומוריד חטא,
מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו משני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדום אליו, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה.
ונאמר לך חיות מתים.
ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוכו הארץ ובואו.
כבודו מלא עולם.
ברוך כבוד אדוני,
ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך.
ימלוך אדוני עולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, hallelujah.
From generation to generation we will make known your greatness. To the end of time we will proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O our God, shall never depart from our lips.
We praise you, Eternal One, hallelujah.
Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Please be seated. And join me in the reading at the bottom of page 142. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy and for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness and consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good.
ישמחו במלכותך, שמש השבת. ישמחו במלכותך, בכל העונג. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, בכל Shabbat, Yisrael, Malchutcha.
take a quiet moment to either finish the Amidah or offer our individual prayers to God. Our individual's prayer might vary because we are all distinct. A prerequisite for all our other needs, the need and the prayer for peace. So let's join our voices in Oseh Shalom at the bottom of page 146 and let us pray for peace. Lovely inscription in italics. The service may continue with prayers and readings on various themes. And our Siddur has many lovely readings on various themes. But I decided to bring a reading that I put together, which is a compilation on various readings on the meaning of Tu B'Shvat that we will mark next week. And there's an interesting process of finding out sources. And to be honest, some of the midrashim or interpretations of Tu B'Shvat I didn't know myself until this week. So it's something that is just as new to me as it is to you. And in a way, I presume that this topic of faith is a topic that will be the topic in our lectionary of liberal readings. Is a topic that is very appropriate because what Tu B'Shvat really is all about is about our faith. That we draw from seeing nature in its ever-renewing cycle. So bear with me for a moment because I'm going to read a couple of Tu B'Shvat related readings and then we'll move forward to the Torah service to celebrate our tree of life, the Torah. Also very much Tu B'Shvat related. What is Tu B'Shvat? In Leviticus we read that new trees should not be harvested for 3 years. The fruit of a 4-year-old tree should be set aside as a gift to God. And the fruit of a 5-year-old tree may be eaten. The Talmud, in Tractate Rosh Hashanah that deals with New Year's, established this day as the birthday of all trees to help us fulfill this commandment. And so this new year for the trees, of the trees, one of 4 New Years in the Jewish tradition, became first a kind of a moment when one decides when the tax of fruit needs to be paid for and when the tree is old enough to be eligible for us to take advantage of and eat the fruit. But the rabbis saw also a different aspect of this day. they saw it as the first beacon, the first warm light of spring. And the midrash they found refers to this belief. It's a midrash that comes from the 9th century, from Babylonia, from modern-day Iraq, and it's called the 3 coals of Shvat. It goes like this. Chai Gaon, the 9th century sage, relates the following tradition about Shvat. In the month of Shvat, God throws down 3 burning coals to warm the earth. On the 7th of Shvat, the first coal falls to warm the air. On the 14th of the month, the second falls to warm the water in the trees. On that day, the Arabs, so neighbors of Jews of Iraq, say, "Today water has entered the trees." On the 23rd of Shvat, the third coal is thrown to warm the soil. So it's all about this transition from winter to spring, bringing in enough warmth for the vegetation to grow. And one of the most important feminist rabbis interprets this story as follows. It's Rabbi Jill Hammer. In Hebrew, the word for sap is saraf, which also means fire. Shvat is a time of warming the world, and Tu B'Shvat is a day to welcome and honor the sap. So it's a day after the sap has entered the trees. The water, it's the day of welcoming the water in the trees that allows life to return. Tu B'Shvat represents the rising life force as the year moves towards spring. This day is a celebration of the inner fire that waits to burst into air. So we have this almost cosmic sense of life returning to the world after winter. But our later sages, the Kabbalists, interpreted this life force returning to us in a wider sense. They referred to 4 Kabbalistic worlds that correspond to 4 elements of our being, to the physical, to the emotional, to the intellectual and spiritual. And so Tu B'Shvat, and so spring is this moment when first we start feeling better because it's lighter. And then, so first our body senses that spring might be coming. And then our emotions change, our mood shifts. And then intellectually, we finally grasp it, and it's a wonderful discovery. And finally, it might lead to a certain spiritual awakening. And this awakening, according to the rabbis, it is supposed to motivate us to bring in change in the world and to transition to our spring, our summer, and our fall when we give fruit, however you want to define your fruit. This process never ends, and I think this process of recognizing nature and using it for our growth is best expressed in the words of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. If you have a sapling in your hand, and someone should say that the Messiah has come, stay and complete the planting, and then go and welcome the Messiah. So Tu B'Shvat motivates us to plant trees, as was the tradition in early pioneer days of Israel. But it also motivates us to plant seeds of something new and something good in us, no matter how old we are and no matter where we feel we are in our life. And what enables us to do it is the study of Torah. So right now, with this Tu B'Shvat sense of the understanding what the tree of life is, we're going to first grasp it and then hold to it. And what will enable us to do so is the Torah liturgy, which you can find on page 481.
Adonai
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Gadlula Adonai iti, uneromemash shemo yachdav. Please be seated. So today we read one of the chapters that often get overlooked because they are preceded by something that really gets our attention. So today we read chapter 16 from the book of Exodus. It's verses 1 to 18. And we overlook it so often because it is preceded by Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, which obviously catches our attention because it's written in a very distinct way in the scroll and because it's also quite joyful. And when we overlook it, we overlook quite an important message that this chapter 16, has to impart. So today we have the opportunity to focus on it specifically. And you can find our chapter 16 in our JPS Chumashim on page 109, and in the Sunchino Chumash, or the Chumash, it starts on page 422. And it is my pleasure to call Ellen for the Aliyah. So without further ado, Ya'amod, Avraham ben Ruven, Likriyat HaTorah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMavorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMavorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher b'chavanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu HaTorah. Amen. And they took their journey from Elim. And all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will cause to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall come to pass on the 6th day, that they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, At even then ye shall know that the Lord hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning then ye shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he hath heard your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we, that we murmur against us, that ye murmur against us? And Moses said, This shall be, when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, for that the Lord heareth your murmurings which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. And the children of Israel saw it. They said one to another, "What is it?" For they knew not what it